Hi, welcome to my craft room. Carol Gatton, your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I've chose this Boys Will Be Boys stamp set, and let me show you what I've come up with. I chose the parachuter and the Legos, and because of the parachuter, we need length, so I thought let's go with a legal envelope size, which is 4 1/8 by 9 1/2. And since most of this is going to be sky, I went with the sky blue cardstock, which measures 8 by 9, scoring it on the 4-inch. This is a piece of the Tangerine Tango, and if you go to my blog, I'm going to have all the measurements there for you, so be sure and check that out at stampqueen101.com. And we'll keep referring back to this card. I just want to show you now about cutting out the little blocks. The punch that I chose is the Ticket Duo punch, and I'm going to be using the smallest block. And the way that I like to punch so that I don't waste cardstock is I like to see the light of day, slide it up so it's right at the edge, and punch. Light of day, slide it up, and punch. That way you're getting right at your edge and you don't waste your cardstock and you can get a lot more out of it. Girls, there's nothing wrong with this punch. The reason I'm having to use two hands is because of the arthritis in my right hand. It's made it so it's difficult for me to punch, but that's not going to stop me. I can use two hands. That doesn't bother me at all. What I'm trying now to do is just make a little pattern on these Legos so that it has interest to it. And I went with 6 and 3s, but you know, if you got a youngster with a birthday, this might be adorable to just put that many dots for their age, and maybe another dot has meaning to it. Okay, line these up right along the base of your card, and you can see that I have this slightly in, and it's because I want my N1 here to extend off, and the portion that I cut off will go on the other side. It doesn't take a whole lot of this mono glue, and this goes really, really fast with just putting that on there and positioning. For me, I found that it worked the easiest if I lay down my Legos and then I come back and glue them down. So I did that with each row. Now there's two ways you can do this, and the way that I'm showing you right now is I cut this in half, and now I'm going to take the rounded side and I'm going to butt it up to the other rounded side and have my cut edge out towards my end of my card. And this makes it look like you just laid a row of bricks. Maybe I have a new job in store for me. Now to put that second row down, what we want to do is we want that centered up just above where the two meet on the row below. So can you see how I'm doing that? And I want just a little bit of space there, but this time it's going to come right to my edge. And continue to work down this, and it may be easier for you with tweezers or just to use your fingers and place them on there. Just continue to work all the way down, and I'm going to show you 3 rows, and then I'll just continue to work this all the way up until I get right at 1 row from the top, and that's where you want to stop. But now let's stamp out our Legos. And so these are large, so in order to make them look like they went with the smaller ones, what I decided to do is to make them look like they were tumbling down. And I'm stamping this with StazOn ink onto my Cajun Craze, and I went with 3 that I had near the top, and just then angle them at different angles, and that's just the effect you get. I'm going to set those aside because I like to do all my cutting at once. I have brought in my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig, which I love. I know a lot of people don't want to monkey with this, but boy, to me it's worth the tiny bit of effort. So what I'm doing now is I am stamping on my plastic sheet, and because this is StazOn, it's the slick side, not the gridded side. And you're probably saying, why are you doing this? You know, you could just stamp directly onto this. Well, when I originally made my card, I wasn't happy with the depth of black that I was getting. So by stamping it 2 times, you can get a really rich, dark, deep color. And that's what I was shooting for. Now I am on a scrap of paper. I am going to stamp just the top of the parachute, repeating that same thing now on a piece of Whisper White. And then lastly, I will be doing my little soldier boy. These are all things that I'm going to be distressing and cutting out. Now this might be one step that you would want to skip. You could stamp directly onto your designer paper and not monkey with doing this step here, but I wanted my top parachute to be a little bit larger than the bottom portion, so that's why I've made a pattern, and I'm going to draw around it now with my pencil, and I'm coming down just a little bit longer than what the sides show, and this will give me just enough of a difference that it gives it more of a billowy effect. But if you choose not to do that, you can skip this step. And what I'm doing is I'm just rough cutting, and I'm going to now adhere that onto this Whisper White cardstock, let that dry, and then I'll cut out both of them at the same time. Okay, let's go around one of our Legos. And I'm never sure if y'all want to watch me trim these things out, or if you would prefer that I just show you I've cut them. I mean, we all know how to cut, but I'll just repeat this for you in case this is something that you'd like a little bit of instructions on. But you hold your hold your scissors steady, and then you turn the cardstock in your hand and just work it around. And when you're trimming something out, this is a time when you really need to be able to concentrate, and you want to try to stay right at that black line, either to the outside or right on it. You don't want to cut away your black line. You want it to show. So give me a comment on that. If you prefer that I not trim out and just show you that I've cut them out, then just let me know. I'm going to go ahead and cut those out. And now this is what I just adhered onto the Whisper White. I'm trimming around this, and I'm staying to the outside of my pencil mark, and I think I just told you why, because I want this just a little bit larger than the original parachute. And next, what I'm going to do is bring in my artist eraser, and I'm going to remove that so I don't forget. These erasers are super cheap, and I've had that one forever. Okay, next I'm bringing in the Cajun Craze, the word window, punch with that, and now I will repeat that on the verse that I've just stamped. And don't you just love this verse? Best kid ever. I'm going to tell y'all who I'm making this card for. I told you it was for my nephew, but he is my nephew that's turning 34 years old. He is the best kid ever. I mean, when I saw this stamp set, I thought, I've got to make this for Thomas, because even though he's 34, he is so much fun. He'll never get old. He is just so much fun to be around. He is the best kid ever. Okay, next, let's use our cupcake punch. Now, have you ever made clouds with this? Oh, this is so very, very easy. Just get a length of your Whisper White cardstock and just go down that length. And you'll have a tiny bit of waste here, but don't worry about that. You're going to need 4 of these clouds, and we are going to set those aside for right now and get our Lost Lagoon ink pad. And you want to make sure that you bounce off a lot of this color. You want this to be faint, and that's really too dark. So let's do the opposite side. Thank goodness we have 2 sides to our paper. And I'm still taking off a little more, but now it's getting to the area that I want. So go ahead, work all the way around, and then you're going to go into the clouds lightly, very, very lightly. I'm just barely touching down, and that makes it look like the sky is coming through those clouds. And do you like how fast I am? Boy, wouldn't that be something if we could just really speed our hands up like that? I'd love it. But this just adds so much when you do this. And I like Lost Lagoon because of that undertones to it, that it looks like it's something in the distance. Okay, next, let's distress the base of our parachute, because we have distressed a little bit on the other. We want to make sure that we also distress our designer paper portion. And now I highly recommend that you practice this on a scrap before you attempt it on your cardstock, because if you have this too dark, it's just not going to look good. Make sure you really pounce off so that you're getting that really soft, billowy look is what you're shooting for. And I know where my clouds are going to go, and that's right up where I've got these marks, because I want that to look like that's behind the clouds. But I also want some shadowing right down here where I'm building my Lego wall, so I've also put a little bit there. Now I've got my wall all built, and now I am putting my Legos onto there, and you can see that every one of them is twisted a little bit different. And then I can see where I need to fill in my bricks. And you might think, oh, all you need is 2, but if I did that, I would have gaps in between the Legos and where these little Legos are, so I'm going to go with 4. Once you get that adhered on, now we're ready to trim off those extra pieces. So get your snips and trim those off, and then decide just where you want to put what. Okay, and that will fit right into there. Great. So get those adhered on, and then we're ready to add our Legos to it. But before we do that, I want to add a little bit of distressing to this. And this is crumb cake. And crumb cake is a grade ink to give that distressed look. So I am going around my edges really well. I'm going into where I'm going to be putting the large Legos, and then I'm also just adding a little bit in other places. Now let's do our little soldier boy as well. We don't want this real dark, and I'm making an X. I hope you can see that on camera. I'm going one direction then the other, and that avoids me coloring his face, but it gets his outfit really well. And then I'm going to do the parachute so that it has a lot of depth to it. And then around my verse. And just the very tips of where that is at the base. Next, we're bringing in the Lost Lagoon, and I'm going to make this into an X as well. Looks like a uniform, doesn't it? And I don't know if y'all have tried our Project Life journaling pens, but boy, do I like those. They work so smoothly, and that was the number 5. And the last color I'm bringing in is the Cajun Craze, and I'm going to distress my blocks and then just tap on the bottom portion of my parachute and then go around my verse. I want this to be very distressed. Okay, and now the Cajun Craze is going around the edge just like I did the crumb cake at the beginning. And then I'll add a little bit into spots that I feel like might be too bright with that Tangerine Tango. What do you think, girls? You like it? Okay, now I am ready to glue on my Legos. Be sure and check out all the information, and I have lots of pictures for you at my website, Stamp Queen 101. And there you can purchase all of these items. I've got the numbers for you and everything, and you can shop right there from my blog. And this one I've got tumbling down. Okay, now I'm going to add 3 half a dimensional. So I'm cutting this large one in half to raise up my verse. I want it to kind of stand up. Especially because I did not back the center. I cut that word window in half. I want to make sure that I have a piece of the dimensionals there in that center and then on each side to support it. Okay, next I'm going to position my clouds just to get an idea as to where to stamp my parachuter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add dimension to these clouds. And boy, I tell you, your trusty old bone folder, I don't know what I'd do without that. I use it all the time. And you can see I'm really breaking down the fibers in this by going around all the edges except for this very last one. And that one I'm not, because I'm only going to adhere that on, where the others I'll be raising up. Put your glue just in the center portion of this. You don't want your edges down tight to the paper. And one dimensional on the back of our clouds. And this one I want to stagger and bring down just a little bit. That looks pretty lifelike. And this one will extend off of the side. And then I will cut away that excess in a little bit. This one I'm going to set aside for right now because I'm going to be putting my parachuter in there. And I know this is tiny, but get good light and you won't have any trouble. Girls, how do you like my pretty nail polish? I think that's called Cajun Craze. I wished I could wear nail polish. I'm so envious of all these people that have these beautiful nails, but I have an allergic problem that I can't wear it. Okay, so now we're going to finish this up. And isn't he tiny? And now this is the cardstock portion, and I want to really break down the fibers in this. And I'm going to add a dimensional onto the back of my designer series paper. And as I told you a while ago, this is from this celebration series. I love that pack. I hope y'all got that. One dimensional, and then I'm going to add a little bit of, not a lot, of the mono adhesive to each side so that it lifts in the top portion and on each side it snuggles up to that back. And look at there. Okay, now I'm ready to bring in my parachuter, and I'm lining the top portion up with that cloud. And you're probably wondering, what are you doing? I am covering up the parachute. Now you could stamp that, you could skip that step, but I'm one of these people that I like success, and I kind of have a direction I'm going in, and I want it to turn out like that. So I am not stamping the parachute, and I'm really stamping this very lightly so that I have an outline to go by, but the under portion showing. So that's why I'm not doing that parachute, so that I can angle it the way I choose. But if you choose to do it that way, then that's fine also. I'm using the pen once again to darken my cords for my parachute. And I want that just a little bit darker, I think, so I'm going to go over it one more time. Okay, next, I am putting one dimensional in the back of the parachute that we have already combined the two parts. And so that is going to be lifted up off of that sky blue, which will look very realistic. Little bit of adhesive in the back of our guy, and then just match him up. And then I'm connecting these cording. And now this is our last cloud. I decided to wait on that until the parachute was up so I could see exactly where I want to put it. And I think this time I'm going to go ahead and snip off that edge. What do you think, girls? I hope you like it. And until next time, thank you so much and have a great time stamping. This is the inside of my card. I thought you might want to see it.